2016 was a great year for video game fans. Games that were released that year are still being played and discussed fondly 5 years later. I'm talking Dark Souls 3. I'm talking Uncharted 4. I'm talking Civilization 6. And amidst these behemoths is Firewatch, a narrative experience that you may have missed. And I'm here to tell you today that you should not have missed it and you should not continue to miss it. Welcome to Taking It Offline, the series where I recommend games for busy people. My name is Ian, and in this video I'm recommending Firewatch for anyone who likes nature, walking, and running away from their problems. Firewatch is a hiking and exploration simulator that I became enamored with when I first played it back in 2016. In fact, after college, I seriously considered spending a summer as a fire lookout myself, before realizing that it would be remarkably difficult to do pretty much any of my electronics-based hobbies. And also because it wasn't 1989 and many of those positions have since been replaced by video cameras. Firewatch puts us in the shoes of Henry, a middle-aged man who's taken a position as a fire lookout in the Shoshone National Forest, which is in Wyoming. After a devastating personal tragedy, which I won't discuss because it would spoil big parts of the story, Henry has decided to go off the grid instead of confronting the new realities of his world. Working for his new boss, the great state of Wyoming, Henry will spend the summer looking out for forest fires and doing his best Smokey the Bear impression in order to keep the wilderness from going up in flames. Now, all of this seems well and good, but as any camper will tell you, spending too much time in the sticks can mess with the brain. Chipmunks rustling through leaves start to sound like a bear. Coyote howls in the night sound like human screams, and trees can cast shadows in dense woods that look vaguely humanoid, or worse, vaguely inhumanoid. Throughout Firewatch, Henry will experience weird forest phenomena and the toll they take on the psyche. Though don't worry, this isn't a horror game and there's nothing scary about it. Instead, you'll become embroiled in intrigue and mystery as Henry adjusts to his daily routine in the solitude of wilderness. With its beautiful environment and low-stakes gameplay, Firewatch is a perfect game for unwinding after a long day of work or on a weekend morning before the rest of the world wakes up. The Shoshone Wilderness area is lovingly crafted to evoke some of the most idyllic hiking spots imaginable in Western North America. The various biomes are squeezed together into a map that somehow feels diverse and spacious, and yet intimate and complex. I could be convinced that some of the dusty zones were ripped straight from the Badlands, or that the Orange Canyon was pulled right out of Arches National Park. While exploring these vistas, Henry's story is told through radio chatter between himself and his direct supervisor Delilah. Additional stories and plotlines can be found throughout the Shoshone Wilderness that unfold naturally, or occasionally unnaturally, as the player progresses. Alright, here's a spoiler of one of the events that starts to make you question the fabric of reality. So, if you don't want a spoiler, go ahead and skip ahead, but it is from the beginning of the game, and it's pretty minor. There's your warning. After a long day of hiking here and there and back again, Henry is on the return to the lookout tower when he happens upon another person on the trail. The person shines a flashlight in his eyes and then is gone by the time Henry's vision readjusts. Now, this is the first time you've seen someone else in Firewatch, and they disappear so abruptly, but it's a public space, so Henry brushes it off, if not feeling a little bristled. These are the types of odd events that you'll get in Firewatch, things that border on bizarre, but nothing outlandish or otherworldly. And that's part of what makes the story so effective. But enough of me bordering on story spoilers, let's get back to the recommendation. Throughout Firewatch, there are no QuickTime events, no combat, no split-second decisions, so it's easy to stand and look at a beautiful vista while taking a sip of coffee. Henry can walk or run, but the speed with which you move and reach your destinations doesn't impact the story, meaning you can take as much or as little time as you want to get through your playthrough. All of these details come together to create an experience that makes you, the player, feel like you're experiencing life as a professional recreational hiker without the sweat, mosquito spray, or tired shoulders. Of course, if you find yourself tuckered out and needing to pack in for the night, Firewatch has a great checkpoint system that lets you drop in or out at any time. And as a bonus, you can even start a particular day from the beginning if you took a little too much time off and find yourself discombobulated about where you are or what you're doing. If you're looking for a tightly focused narrative game, then Firewatch is a superb choice. I mean, you may as well call it Egyptian cotton because this game has a plethora of narrative threads woven and crossed throughout its 6-hour runtime. As Delilah issues Henry his daily tasks, from snuffing out fireworks to investigating downed power lines, she blends the line between professional and personal. Maybe because they have nobody else to talk to, they share personal details about their lives, furthering the plot and their personal character development. As Henry plods around the wilderness, he'll discover clues of hikers, campers, and DNR employees that have passed through the area prior to his arrival. All of the plot threads are delivered either visually or through radio chatter between Henry and Delilah, and occasionally through snacks, which is critical when it comes to camping. Rarely will you need to spend a long time deciphering cryptic world-building clues. Instead, these plot points are bite-sized and easily digestible, which make them ideal for a busy person who wants intrigue, but isn't looking to get into Tolkien-esque world-building in their video games. Plus, Henry remembers a lot of information that you may have forgotten, so when you pick up on a new detail, your good buddy Hank will be there to give you a call out as to how your newfound information stacks up with the rest of the story. I first played Firewatch when it was released back in 2016, and at the time I thoroughly enjoyed it. I played it again prior to making this video and was surprised at how well it holds up and how much more I enjoyed it on my second playthrough. Not because I knew what was going to happen or I was any better at playing the game, but instead because I devoted more time to taking in the vistas and exploring the winding trails of the Shoshone. Instead of racing to the end of the story, I more seriously considered the various directions that it could go, and I selected Henry's responses to Delilah's questions based on what I thought was the most impactful. And ultimately, I was surprised at how much I missed in the first go-around. By slowing down and appreciating the story and gameplay, I inherently focused more on the characters and how they play out throughout the game. I was impressed by the range of the voice actors to play these characters, and I was delighted that the soundtrack did empty space music before Breath of the Wild made it so popular. These details are not to be taken lightly, as they're the key in building the immersion that makes Firewatch the powerful story that it is. Firewatch is my favorite walking simulator. I'm a huge fan of the American National Park system and have particular soft spot for the Great Western Frontier. I loved that there were so many regions that were clearly borrowed from some of America's national parks. And as a busy person, you'll appreciate the relaxing hiking, but you'll stay hooked by those incidents when the pace picks up and the world gets weird. The deeply emotional narrative is delivered in an approachable manner, and if you play it and like it, come on back to the channel for more recommendations. You could even consider subscribing, commenting, or liking, and I would be forever grateful. But enough self-plugging. I give Firewatch 5 creaky old towers out of 5 creaky old towers. Highly recommended.